Hello and welcome to Peace News Now. We are live this Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. I'm broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, and joining me as co-host this evening is Davi Barker. Where are you broadcasting from, Davi?
I am here in the Bay Area, California.
Cool. Well, it's good to have you with us. Davi, of course, from shinybadges.com and bitcoinnotbombs.com, many other projects, which I'd love to get into today. I was talking about your Milgram-esque experiment that's been popular in the Liberty community. You've been talking about it since last PorcFest or maybe a little before.
No, last PorcFest was when that idea came into fruition, so it's only been since then.
Right. Okay, that was exactly the moment when that idea started being talked. Very cool. And later in this segment, we'll be joined by Lampoon the System, and I look forward to having him. We've got a lot of news to report about peaceful resistance. I've got my DMV experience that I want to get into today, plus a very important hearing that's happening tomorrow in Keene. For anyone who's in Keene or in the surrounding New Hampshire area, there's going to be a hearing tomorrow at Keene City Hall on the Shire Free Church and whether or not to give it tax-exempt status, a very important topic we'll be talking about later on this evening, plus self-managed communities thrive in Spain without government, and should North California secede and become the state of Jefferson? I'll be curious to hear Davi's thoughts on that, being as he's in the Bay Area. But let's get Lampoon the System on board and join this conversation. Are you with us, John?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you very well and clearly. So it's good to have you with us. You have a special idea for a liberty-oriented, kid-friendly, but adult-friendly game, and I'd love to hear more about it. We've talked about it on one past episode of Peace News Now, but it's been in development for a few months. What's the status?
Well, we launched the Kickstarter campaign today. It's actually been in development a couple of years. About 2 years back we started the writing. It's got a little bit of everything that I do in there. It's got cartooning, satire, entrepreneurship, gaming, debate. Liberty friendly, that's for sure. The name is GMO.
How many O's are in the GMO if I'm looking this up on Kickstarter?
Yeah, well, you can just search GMO. You'll find it on Kickstarter. There's a couple extra O's and an H and an exclamation point. People may have seen it at PorcFest last year. I entered into the Agorist pitch. I introduced it then. It was kind of in the early stages, but we've got a full prototype, about 75% of the art's done. It's all tested. It plays well. And I'm actually headed to the Origins Game Convention in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow. It's the second biggest convention in the U.S., getting a booth, marketing, promoting, playing, everything.
Sweet. So I've got the Kickstarter page up here so folks can take a look. You can donate. It looks like you've got the explanation that it's a fantasy card game for 3 to 6 players, and you can promote your futuristic organisms in a free market environment.
Is that a designer turtle card?
Oh, yeah. That is the tortoise shellmet. It's a turtle that can regenerate its shell, and you guys know with terrorism around every corner, everybody needs a tortoise shellmet.
Okay.
Looks pretty cool. It's got little facts here about its stats. Like any card game you might play, like Pokemon or Magic or any sort of card game, it's got stats just like them. Pretty cool. So have you done any tests of this game yet?
Oh, yeah. There's a really big game store here in Chicago called Chicagoland Games where multiple nights a week they just have open gaming where people just come in, you sit down. They get usually between 50 to maybe 70 people, huge couple of rooms, and I've been testing it there for 6 months, randomly finding people, getting my friends to show up. About half of the cards have real GMO foods or topics embedded into the game. So everything you hear on the news, bovine growth hormone, glyphosate, Roundup, corn, alfalfa, soy. All the foods are in here, but it's also mixed in together with a bunch of kind of crazy futuristic stuff. So somebody can play it and not know it's a little bit of a liberty game. It's a little bit of a, organic food movement game. It plays just like kind of a fun party game, but someone will play it, and there's a card called Double Agent Orange, for example. Somebody might say, what's Agent Orange? And the next thing you know, they learned about Monsanto, a little bit of history, a little bit of chemical weapons. So I try not to be too preachy, but it's all got a lot of good stuff in there that people are pretty familiar with in the liberty movement. But I kind of tie it all together in more of a kind of a fun, crazy environment.
Wow, very cool. Hey, do you have a Bitcoin or other crypto coin donation page?
Well,
I would love to be able to donate in some sort of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
That's one of my problems. I can't use Kickstarter.
Well, you know what? If you go to
some cool packages for people who do donate at Kickstarter. What sort of cool perks do they get?
Yeah, well, depending on the pledge levels, you can get either a full digital version of the game that you can just download and print yourself. That's essentially how I did it, tested it for the first 2 years. Now I do print on demand. So you get a digital version, you get a copy of the game, and it kind of goes up from there. Yeah, but in my video, I have a pretty funny video. It's kind of a parody of a conspiracy TV show, and the host of the show has his Bitcoin QR code hanging on the wall.
All right. Makes sense. Wouldn't you? Maybe I should get on that.
Yeah, so...
Well, all right, so the Kickstarter, I was able to look it up. It's GMOO with, looks like 3 O's and an H.
Yeah, but if you just type GMO, it'll pop up. Yep.
Oh yeah. I searched Kickstarter what was it? GMO, right? Kickstarter GMO. You can find it that way. Well, thanks so much for joining us, John. Anything else you want to share with us today? What other projects you got going on?
Well, this is my biggie right now. I am moving to New Hampshire in late July.
All right.
Yep. I will be in PorcFest in a couple weeks, so stop by my table in Agora Valley. I'll be doing demos of the game. I'll be selling my books and prints and all that. So that'll be my third PorcFest, and really only took 1 or 2 before I started to plan the move, and I'll be actually there pretty shortly.
Yeah. This is your third PorcFest, you say?
Yep, third PorcFest. Yep.
And was it primarily because of PorcFest that you decided to move, or what sort of things inspired you to decide this is where I'm going?
It's a combination. I think my first trip to New Hampshire was Ron Paul primary weekend. I guess that was 2012. We went to Manchester. Tom Woods was there. A lot of petitioning, signing, door to door. And then somebody said, go to PorcFest. And since then, I've been to 2 PorcFests, 2 Liberty Forums. Yeah, some combination of all that great stuff and all the cool people and the no taxes. I'm in Chicago now, so I'm sort of in the belly of the beast.
Yeah, it's a really big difference between some places like Chicago and New Hampshire, just in the day-to-day lifestyle. For example, you mentioned taxes. It's such a unique experience. I recently moved back to New Hampshire from Philadelphia, which is a city similar to Chicago, and there's no taxes here. So when I buy something at the store, when I see the price, that's the price I pay, and it's just such a special feeling. I don't know if anyone else can relate, because usually everyone has the experience of being taxed. Anyway, New Hampshire's a wonderful place, and I look forward to seeing you here, John. And that's a wonderful inspiration. We need more doers like you.
Cool. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Davi. I'm going to pack for my trip now.
Rock on. That's the
Awesome.
Kickstarter project.
You're bringing it to PorcFest, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Good. I'll take a look.
Sweet. Thanks. I'll see you there.
Cool. I can't wait to play it. So coming up, we're going to hear about the hearing on the Shire Free Churches tomorrow, plus a video I want to share with you about a self-managed community that's thriving in Spain, in Barcelona, without any government. Luke Gradowski took an awesome video that I want to share some clips from. So we'll get into that, plus Davi's thoughts on should California secede? Break into 2. That would be interesting. Someone's going to do it.
Or
Maybe they should be the first. Yeah, exactly. PNN will return after this trip to the market.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize
Hey, Davi, that was awesome. Okay, so it's going great. How are you?
I'm good. I've come down with a little bit of a cold, but I'm feeling okay. I'm very
I can
medicated.
only hear it because you mentioned it. I wouldn't know any other way. So I took a trip to the DMV today. I should just save that. I'm still I shouldn't be surprised because the DMV has such a reputation for being so annoying. But I've avoided it for so long I've forgotten.
It is the agency that people use as an example when they're describing how inefficient other agencies are.
It's just so torturous. And I guess that's really saying something. Like, thank goodness we've moved on since the Middle Ages, because there was actually torture for entertainment then, and now it's just a small inconvenience.
Now torture only occurs between consenting adults and soldiers and prisoners of war.
And people who have to visit the DMV.
And people who have to visit the DMV. You know, I haven't driven in a couple of years, and avoiding the DMV is a major part of my calculation when it comes to whether or not to get a car and begin driving again.
Oh, hell yeah. You know there's so much bondage associated with it. For example, today, I wasn't able to go out and do the things that I was going to do because I was tied to my phone waiting for this call. Like, where else on earth do you deal with an agency where you have to sit by the phone for hours and then they don't even call, and there's no like complaint department to go to where it's like, hey, you guys didn't call me.
Well, the ballot box, Derek, that's the complaint department.
Yeah, I guess so.
You have to vote in. You have to vote someone in to fix the DMV. That's how you do it.
Ridiculous. All right. Very good. I will be right back. I need to make sure that everybody knows that this show is brought to you entirely by you, the listeners. So thank you for all of your Bitcoin donations. You are who makes this possible, so thank you.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
When 16-year-old Jeffrey Patterson died in a car accident in February, he didn't just leave behind grieving friends and family.
I'm trying to get Tatiana Moroz on. She launched Tatiana Coin 10 days ago, and she's been doing little feature project things.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and she asked me to do a little show today, and I wasn't able to do it on the World Crypto Network. I thought it would be a lot of fun. So I'm hoping if she's still around, maybe she can do a little bit of Peace News Now. Yeah, because I want to learn about Tatiana Coin. I haven't. I suppose there's a whole client for it, right? There's got to be a client for it, like there is for Bitcoin.
I know nothing about it, but that stands to reason.
Yeah, but I suppose I wouldn't need the client. Like I don't need the client to buy Litecoin on, different exchanges. They just have a wallet that holds it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you need a wallet somewhere.
Yeah, I'm curious about all that. Okay, come back.
The latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News Now. We are live this Tuesday, June 10th. 2014. You can call in, Skype in, Peace News Now, all one word, or dial 443-424-8347. That number spells out Hi-Fi Civ Dis, and it helps you get interactive with the show. You can also join me in the chat room at PeaceNewsNow.com/live, where you can see live video of the show, as well as just the audio feed and interact with other listeners in the chat room, so it's fun. Plus, a lot of people send their messages through that way and ask questions about the stories. So in this segment, I want to share about an interesting video that Luke Gradowski took in Barcelona. And I got this story from activistpost.com, a wonderful resource. They're often covering positive news stories that I like to cover of peaceful resistance. And so in this video, Luke talks to a 20-year local of Barcelona about the hopeful changing social economic conditions. The recent economic disaster in Spain has caused austerity measures and the people to rely on the government less and on themselves more. Here's the video.
This is Ogrodowski of WeAreChange.org, and I'm outside here Can Bayo, which is a community center started here in Barcelona, Spain, that used to be an abandoned building that people just came in here and took over 3 years ago. They're actually doing community service work and helping out these ladies customize their wheelchairs and upgrade them and fix them, since the government is inadequate and can't do that. So it's people coming to help each other, which is an amazing thing. They also have a nice community garden here. And I'm joined by a friend of mine, Chris, who has been showing me around here. We just did an interesting story about Can Vias, one of the community centers that was destroyed. And my friend Chris here has been living in Barcelona for over 20 years. Yep. Now, Chris, what is the importance of these community centers here, and how did they start up?
Oh, well, the importance is a place for people to go and be free and self-manage themselves and their projects and their community without having to depend on the state. Yeah.
Now we visited this one behind us, which you're seeing has a big support solidarity for Can Vias, the squat community center that was just shut down a few days ago. And this place is massive. I mean, what used to be here?
Well, it was like a factory warehouse. Don't exactly know how you call it. It had different companies with their stocks and their machinery there. But it fell into disuse, I don't know when, quite a few years ago, because it had been abandoned and, you know, a big wall around it. The neighbours didn't have, well, there's a lack of public space in the neighbourhood, and they were making pressure to the local council for them to free up the area and make some use of it, which they didn't do. The council didn't do it, and the neighbours became more and more organised and said, well, we're going to break the door down and start doing it ourselves if you're not going to do it. And in the last minute, the council said, well, here you go, here are the keys.
This is exactly what one would expect, right? So the government is failing in Barcelona, the local government, the people are using the process, doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, or what they're told is the process, petitioning their local government, saying, make use of this space, look, it's decrepit, it's falling apart, and the government just won't do anything. So eventually, the people take it upon themselves. And the government has to say, well, here, you're the only one who's willing to do the work. Here's all the keys. Here's all the properties. So then they take over the properties. This is a beautiful thing. I haven't seen anything like this in the U.S., and I wonder if we're going to see anything like this happen in Detroit.
I feel like in the U.S., the state retaliates against people who do what they're not doing. It kind of reminds me of the people who fill in their own potholes. Like, they tell the government, hey, your roads are falling apart, please fix them, and the government won't fix them, and so they go and they fill in the potholes themselves, and then the state promptly, like, issues them a fine for defacement of public property. Like, that's what I expect in the United States, but I'm glad that it didn't happen in this case, that the state doesn't retaliate against them for showing them up.
Yeah, do you think it's just a different cultural thing? Like, maybe they have less stubbornness or less pride getting in the way in Barcelona, that they're just able to say, hey, you're willing to do the job, go to it. But the culture in the U.S. is like, well, no one can do the job. No one's going to do anything. We're just going to be stuffy and stubborn and say.
I don't know why that is. I mean, you would think that the culture of authority would be similar regardless of the prevailing culture surrounding the society. But maybe it is. Maybe it is completely different. Maybe there's something unique about Americans that when they are given government power, they get stubborn and petulant.
I thought it was also important. One of the first things that they pointed out in this community, and they sort of glossed over it, was the community garden, which was huge, by the way. I don't know if you noticed. That is what sustains a community, is people working together to produce their own food. That's and it gives a sense of independence and a sense of community. So that is one of the biggest things that this community has done, I think, to promote their own independence. It's not just take over the buildings, but produce their own food. Well done.
Well, there have been people here in the States that have done that. They call it rebel gardening.
Yeah.
And, they get
LA
shut down, you know? Yeah. Like, the government will leave these sort of empty tracts of dirt that just look ugly and mess up a neighborhood, and then the neighborhood will say, well, you know, we could just plant some cabbage there or something useful. And the government's like, no, we must have dirt there.
That's right. I've covered a story of a guy, a designer out in LA. His name escapes me at the moment. Hopefully I can pull it up during the next segment. But he lives in the food desert, you know, where you can't get healthy food anywhere in the area. And so he decided to turn these mediums, you know, or the medians, excuse me, in the roadway into plots of land for food, and he produced cabbage or whatever, beets, and the kids actually started getting involved. So all these obese kids who were eating McDonald's and Burger King every day started eating beets, and his quote that I love so much was like, when kids grow beets, they eat beets. When they grow kale, they eat kale. And so they were happy to. It wasn't like anyone had to force them to eat their vegetables. They were
sounds like there was a guy named Ron Finley who did a TED Talk about growing sort of rebel gardens in LA. I wonder if it's the same guy.
That's his name. Yeah. Ron Finley. I think that that name rings a bell. I think he's the one.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool story. Shall we continue with this video? Let's see.
Yeah, let's go.
I want to see what else happens.
It's sort of like it's not exactly as squatted, but it's not state organized either. Yeah.
And it's very amazing inside because they have rock climbing walls, they have huge libraries, they have huge concert halls that people here just naturally, without any government assistance, without any corporate influence, just came together and built for the people here. And that
we'll continue with that video when we come back from this trip to the free market. Coming up, should Northern California secede and become the state of Jefferson? Or maybe just secede and not become a state. This is PNN.
What if the key
Oops,
to
I was screen sharing my notes.
Together with others who liberty activists are joining the Free State Project.
Come in. I am broadcasting, but you are welcome to come in. Yes. Let me mute my mic.
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is PNN. You can call in 443-424-8347 or Skype us. PeaceNewsNow, all one word. Still coming up, should Northern California secede and become the state of Jefferson? We're continuing with a video from Luke Gronowski of We Are Change about a group of people who are managing their own lives without the government. Can you imagine? Well, you don't have to imagine. It's happening, and we have video. Sharing this video with you.
You see some of them being
from
destroyed,
activistpost.com.
It seems like this is a natural response because of the economic turmoil here in Spain. There's 56% unemployment among the young people, 27% unemployment among everybody else, and the bankers have been doing the usual tricks of manipulating mortgages to take people's money away and also their homes here. So the community has come together. But Chris, you lived here 20 years. Economically speaking, how is Spain standing right now?
Well, you know, it depends who you are. There's some people that think nothing's changed or, in fact, become better. But they're a smaller and smaller percent, of course, of the population. People are hurting hard. There's a lot of families, none of the parents are working. The whole family's moved in with their grandparents.
Do you think they're just walking through a bad street, or is it really that bad looking in Barcelona?
It wouldn't surprise me. Barcelona was hosted the Olympics, and hosting the Olympics is devastating to the local economy.
Lots of austerity measures with higher taxes and less resources for the people that are being taken away here. How has the implementation of the European Union kind of been here? Because I know that also has an effect on everything here, especially with the local politics that have been also changing here very dramatically.
Well, it's been a complete disaster, really.
Wow, dealing with the European Union, a disaster?
Community. There was a flood of free money. Everybody thought they were rich all of a sudden. The banks credit to people. You could buy a house, which was...
That's also the problem with the Olympics, is that it's a flood of free money.
Then finance, plus a car thrown in, and trip to the Caribbean.
Wow.
You know, and then the economy turns sour. People lose their jobs. There's no way to pay it back. It's something that they'd been fooled into.
So is this just the classic model, Davi, of the controlling elite? Is it just to flush cash onto a population, because this is what the European Union essentially is, right? A group of controllers. So they flush cash onto a population, get the people high on their spending power. They buy a bunch of ridiculous luxury goods and malinvestments, and then the collapse happens and they're dependent on those controllers. Is that the whole system? Is that the idea?
I don't know if it's intentional, but that's definitely one of the ways that the sort of system fails to achieve its objectives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of a fundamental misunderstanding of cause and effect to think that, like, at the end of a whole chain of causes and permutations, there's a price tag, and if you just change that price tag, you can ignore all of the causes of whatever, like, went wrong in a community.
And yeah, interesting point. You're saying basically if you malinvest, you have to pay for that consequence somehow.
Oh, well, that too, you're correct. But what I'm saying is that if it looks as though there is a sort of a downturn in a community somewhere, dumping money into it is assuming that the problem was that they didn't have enough money, as opposed to other causes, as opposed to other causes of whatever. Depression.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, they had other causes that caused their depression. Not
the lack of money is one of the symptoms. It's not the cause.
Right. But it seems like for politicians, that's one of the easy answers because they have easy access.
They print money, so it's yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they get to say, well, will money work? Do you want money? Is that a good option? Vote for me. Let's close this out. More from Luke Radowski of wearechange.org.
And now they're chucked out of their house, and in fact in Spain they have this crazy law that when you can't pay your mortgage, the bank repossesses the house, but you still owe the bank the money of your mortgage. So you don't have your house, and you have a huge debt. It's an impossible situation.
Yeah, it definitely is. And being here 3 years ago, you've seen a lot of that frustration in the streets. Even before Occupy Wall Street, there was the Indignados, the Ocupados, and Plaza de Catalunya here, where people have gathered and took over the local square on M15, and that really was a major movement. But politically speaking, where is that movement now, and how does it play into politics?
Well, yeah, when the 15M was in its in the spring, in the Spanish spring, people would shout that the politicians didn't represent us. No nos representan. And little by little over the years, well, people have become more politically organized, and political initiatives.
What? Politically organized?
To grow.
No, they've become independent of politics.
Political party that...
Isn't he saying before they became independent, this was what they did? Maybe I misunderstood.
Last week, they registered as a party 4 months before the elections, and it was a complete surprise to everybody. They now have 5 representatives in Brussels in the European government there. So, so that's and let's see what happens with the Spanish elections here in another couple. I think it's 2 years away.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't vote for this new party because they'd never heard of it. So,
but they were still able and successful in getting 5 seats in the European government.
Nobody expected it at all. Nobody.
Yeah, it sounds like he's talking about a political solution.
And now there's a lot of high hopes for this M15
a waste of time.
Indignados political party to also win some political seats here in the Spanish election, not just the European elections, which are also coming up very soon. So even in Spain, where the economic situation is dire, people are coming together, organizing politically, winning political seats, and it looks like things are slowly changing. Hope you guys enjoyed this program. Click like if you did. And don't forget.
No, sorry, Luke. I'm disappointed.
Luke is an anarchist, isn't he? Is this just his way of doing a softball interview?
I don't know. I don't think this guy needs a softball interview. He seems like a friendly. So why would he emphasize political solutions above all when they've got their community gardens and their community houses and they're serving one another with their goods and services? Like the political seats, the 5 people who are sitting in seats of political power are not the ones who are making the real change on the ground happen. Like, come on. We know that. So it's
especially since it sounds like the whole point is that they're doing it themselves. It's sort of like we've done this ourselves, and now we're going to give the government the credit.
Yeah, ridiculous. Hey, I know I said we were going to get to Northern California next, but there's this other story that I think is also worth spending some time and attention on. It's called an anarchist haven in Denmark. It's called Christiania. Have you heard of it?
That sounds familiar, but tell me more.
Yeah, it's allegedly an anarchist society buried deep within the system, located in the heart of the Danish capital of Copenhagen. And there's this little mini doc that came out, just 7 minutes long, by Press for Truth recently. The popular YouTube channel, they do a good job on some of these ideas. We're going to be able to get this one started and introduced, but let's take a look. The Anarchist Haven, Christianity. Whoa.
Hi there, everyone. This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth, and today we're sitting here with Joseph of Whistleblower-TV, and we're in Christiania here in Copenhagen, Denmark.
We're going to have to leave it there. We will return to more stories of secession and people declaring their own personal independence from the government, local and foreign. This is Peace News Now. Still time for your calls and thoughts if you make them quickly. We'll be right back.
MineThings.com is a fun online game that pits you against people around the world to mine for scarce resources. Do business in a capitalist economy with virtually mined gold, tax-free. It doesn't require a big time commitment. Your little mining robot.
Yeah, so Davi, Daryl has this cool.
But you can buy bonuses. They even accept bitcoins. Go to
well, let's see. I know we were just talking about political stuff is not the solution, but there are a bunch of Free Staters who are running for offices in New Hampshire, and I think that's kind of cool. Like, I would love to see, you know how I think that, you know, politics is usually not the solution, but this is like sort of a special case, right? Because there's all these people who their only mission is to have a hands-off approach, and that's exactly what I want. So, I don't know. Is that being controlling? I don't know. But
well, I mean, I don't believe in jury trials, but if I was on a jury, I would still nullify.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's kind of like that, where like, I don't know, I'm not spending the time to become a politician, but since it doesn't take much effort from me to go vote for a freedom-friendly person, like, why is that not a good option? You know, why would that be a bad thing to do? I know it's not like a solution that I'm going to go promote as an anarchist, like, oh, you know, you should go vote, and that'll change the system, but kind of in New Hampshire, it is a different story. Like, local politics, libertarians actually win elections, and the libertarians are also sometimes running as Republicans or Democrats, so that's also pretty cool. I'm just amazed by all the things that are happening here in Keene. I can't wait to see you at PorcFest, too. You're going to Bitcoin in the Beltway, right?
I'm going to Bitcoin in the Beltway and to PorcFest.
Yeah, man. That's serious.
Else, it'll be interesting to see whether or not holding political office has a corrupting influence on an otherwise libertarian.
I don't think it will.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying it will. I'm saying I'd like to see if it does.
Yeah, that would be curious. There are already Free Staters who have won elections. I think there have been 13 different Free Staters elected to the State House. So that's huge. I think, and that was even at one time, like all at once. I think there have been like 16 or something total, and maybe even more now. It's been a while.
Nope.
Okay, I gotta get more water, but I'll be back soon.
0309.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict, or face increasing punishments, up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government waged wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American Empire? The Empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Join us in the chat room, PeaceNewsNow.com/live. Skype into the show, Peace News Now. Dial in 443-424-8347. This show is brought to you entirely by you, the listeners. You listeners have donated to this program to make it possible for me to continue to keep the lights on and bring you more Liberty content about peaceful resistance happening all around the globe. If you want to continue this effort, you can make a donation in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Namecoin, or a host of other cryptocurrencies at donate.peacenewsnow.com. Coming up, we're going to talk about should Northern California secede and become a new state, maybe no state at all, plus an anarchist haven in Denmark. I certainly have not heard about this. Davi, you said you're somewhat familiar, but let's learn about it together. This from pressfortruth.ca.
Joseph, tell us a little bit about this. Somewhat of a, I suppose, can be referred to as an anarchist society. What is Christiana all about?
Well, it started out in 72. Actually, in 71, people broke down the fence. It used to be an army base. It was that for many years, and then they didn't use it anymore, and people, because of the urbanization, people moving into the city, there was not so many green areas in Copenhagen, but this place was green, and people found that out, so they broke down the fence, and it started up as a society in 72. There was a little problems in the start where everybody could just move in, and some people took heroin because there were free drug zone, and people started to die in apartments when it was not good. So I think it was around 76 or something like that they made this no to hard drugs policy, and they started to make a few rules, no gang affiliation, and no weapons, no violence.
Well,
I don't like the no weapons thing.
In regards to the drug trade here, a little bit about the marijuana. How does marijuana work here in Christiana? What are the rules, and how has it changed over time?
Well, there's a street called Pusher Street in Christiania, and that's where they sell the marijuana. And it used to be an open, where you could see what they sold, but the government after 2003, I would say 2004, made it hard to make an open sale but before that, and it still is, but it's just not open. But now you can go to the table and you can pick your Red Lebanon or your Afghan, different kind of hash, and we have seen like a revival of this pot strains. So yeah, it's like going into a store and just picking the things you want.
However, to clarify,
am I just being a little too nitpicky here, Davi, or is this just not an anarchist haven at all? It just seems like they've got a lot of weed. I don't see much significant difference.
Well, it sounds to me like they're lefty anarchists, and lefty anarchists are often very confused about what anarchy actually means, and so, you know, they sometimes think democracy is an anarchy. I mean, like, it's hard to say one way or the other. I would want to see more than a 7-minute video before I pass judgment, but yeah, I don't know how you could ban weapons if you're not.
That's the part that I was most disturbed about. I think that maybe I'm gonna hope or cross my fingers and hope that was just a bone he was trying to throw to be like appealing to the masses or something, like, oh, we're not scary, we don't have a bunch of weapons or something. Like, I'm sure people carry weapons there to defend themselves. Well, why wouldn't you? They're a useful deterrent, and they may be necessary to defend your life. So, I mean, this is just a principle of self-ownership. You would want to protect that. Anyway, yeah. Let's continue with this video.
It is still illegal here in Denmark, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's been tolerated by the government because Christiania became a social experiment, I think, in the early 80s, and it was a social experiment until 2003, and because it was a social experiment and people and Christiania could have their own rules, well then, and one of them was no to hard drugs. You tried that, so it was free and open sale inside this area, and if you go outside the fence, or there's not the fence but the area, which actually covers 34 acres, well then the real truth begins.
Now, here on Pusher Street, we've noticed that a lot of the people, and we'd like to be able to show you, but there's a very strict no camera rule on Pusher Street in the green zone, right? All the pushers are wearing masks and hiding their faces, but I hear what didn't used to be like that. What changed?
What changed was in 2003 the experiment got a new permit, but the government changed in 2001. They wanted to normalize the place, and that was totally the opposite, and nobody knew what normalizing was, but to the government, or Copenhagen City Hall, it was putting in a lot of police, patrolling the streets with escorts of policemen, going into kids' pockets. People got arrested.
So the state, the police kind of tried to come in and shut down the anarchist community, but it wasn't.
They took away their anarchy permit.
This place still operates. Now, I've noticed there's a lot of houses, and it seems that people live in here.
Well, it seems like it was a violent clash. Doesn't it sound like the police sort of came in brutally?
Completely an anarchist
Oh
society.
yeah, that doesn't mean that there was a clash necessarily. That's just how they roll.
100% self-sustainable. It's an idea, and it has developed over 40 years. As I said before, it has 34 acres, and most of the place is where people are living. There is the
34 acres is huge for Copenhagen. That's awesome.
Maybe that can say 1/5 of the area, yes, people they paid a rent to stay in here. The houses are owned.
Looks kind of poor though.
Christiania, and the rent goes to.
It might just be rural.
It was before. It was an internal fund, and also the stores in here.
That doesn't look poor.
To have their stores.
Looks like someone built it.
In here, and you
I guess all houses look like someone built it.
Roads and the sewers and everything. Well, that's Christiania who does that, and actually people used to be able to build their own houses like they wanted, where they wanted. You can't do that anymore. Now you need a permit, and that developed after 2003, and the police came in here with the biggest squad ever.
How did the anarchists let that happen?
It was 1,000 policemen went into people's houses. That started the normalization, and they carried on.
The normalization.
In 2005, 6. In 2007, we had a big riot inside Copenhagen. It also developed to this area.
Is this a specifically Christian community? I'm noticing this guy's shirt is a cross.
860 people got arrested over these 4 days.
I don't know.
The police got more guns. They got bigger weapons, more body armor, bigger cars, armored cars.
So the story about the anarchist haven is about how the government rolled in tanks?
Yeah, that sucks.
They are free, and everything became Americanized or something like that.
So despite the oppression and the attempts to shut it down, people have still maintained this place as their own. And there's even little spots I've come across that
they're
show where
homesteading
you can leave something if you don't need it anymore, and somebody else can take something if they need it. That seems to really speak to what kind of a society it is and how it all works and operates here.
Yes. People try to make this self-sustainable, and yes, you can take your clothes, you can put it, and people who don't have so much money can take the clothes you donated. Maybe some of the spirit we saw in the protest zone, unity. We don't care if you are disturbed or you're a little different, as long as you are not violent and you want to contribute to the society. And that was what the fighting really was about. That you could.
I'm down.
Still control your own place and keep commercials out and have the art, have the music, have the free spirit.
Keep commercials out.
Let people live.
Yeah.
Be free.
Awesome.
I don't like
well
that.
said. Thanks for talking to us, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
I wouldn't want to keep commercials out. I like commercials.
So it sounds like they refuse to defend themselves.
Yeah, they refused to defend themselves and they lost. And
Like, even if they didn't want to get in like a hot shooting war with the police, like there are lots of things that like the Occupy movement did to like keep police out of their parks. Like, did they sit in front of the tanks? Did they lock elbows and say no police beyond this point? Did they?
Yeah, we just had the 25th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. Did Tankman use any violence? No. He sat there with flags and he stood proud and said, "Ain't no way you're coming through."
So I'd be interested to know what they did, if anything.
That's a quote. Yeah, no, I'll be interested to know as well. So this is Christiania. I would go visit. What do you think, Davi? Are you going to pay this place a visit?
I would visit, sure.
Yeah, let's go check it out. We'll do an in-depth
road trip.
This is PNN.
I just heard the best sales I've heard.
I forgot that when it's up at the top of the hour, when we're at it's the top of the hour break. It closes the intro music like 10 seconds faster than it normally does.
Oh, no.
So I didn't intend to end that segment with "This is PNN," but that's what it worked. All right, more ads, and I got to get something to drink. I bought a soda earlier. I got a nice root beer. Keep me awake.
With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual
How you doing? You good?
But
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sipping on my Dayquil.
for
Oh,
more tips on
gosh.
communicating
Feel
more
better.
effectively, hit BibleSpeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
This is the Central Scrutinizer. I steal your labor by force through taxation.
My job is to spy on you and keep you from hearing things like the Freedom Fiends. I especially
do not want you to torrent Freedom Fiends episodes to keep them drone-proof. Do not go to freedomfiends.com and click on the torrent link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives. Do not go to freedomfiends.com
and click on the torrent
link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives. Do not go to freedomfiends.com
and click on the torrent
link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,256. Silver opened at $19.16, and Bitcoin is trading at $650. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Bitmain Technology, creators of the Antminer S1 180 gigahash Bitcoin miner. No pre-order, ships on time, and sometimes it's early. Buy yours today at bitmaintech.com or call them up at 844-BITMAIN. That's 844-248-6246. And support comes from Affordable Sound, CD and DVD duplication, along with posters and promotions materials. Mention promo code LIBERTY, and when you order 10 or more posters, you get 10 free. Online, affordablesound.com, or give them a call, 512-459-5253. In the news, the Washington Free Beacon reports discussions between the Justice Department's National Defense Division and Plato Kacharis, a long-term Washington defense lawyer representing Edward Snowden, could reach an agreement on allowing the whistleblower back into the United States. Specific details of the talks are unknown. However, reports say a plea deal could be reached, resulting in Snowden returning to the U.S. under the condition of lesser charges in exchange for returning the large cache of documents taken by the former NSA analyst. On Friday, telecommunications company Vodafone released a report detailing surveillance of its customers' phone calls and emails by governments in 29 countries. The report outlined surveillance protocol in various countries, including at least 6 where the government security agencies allegedly have direct access to Vodafone's files. Now, the report did not detail which countries make use of the network. However, it did name 5 countries with unlimited access to Vodafone's network, including Albania, Hungary, Ireland, Egypt, and Qatar. The federal government has given grant money to Florida police departments to test beachgoers' beverages for alcohol. Now, police are using passive alcohol detectors, which simply hover above a drink, indicating whether or not it's alcoholic. Holmes Beach, which is located south of Tampa on the Gulf Coast, completely prohibits alcohol on the beach. So police are using that law to test anyone's beverage that they choose. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Voice and Exit, maximizing human flourishing through radical innovation. Tickets on sale now. Get 10% off with promo code FREEDOM. June 21st at Austin Music Hall. Get yours at voiceandexit.com. And support comes from Accountable Authority, now offering a public database of police abuse and misconduct. Take action. Join for free. Gain community support and protection. Online at accountableauthority.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. As early as Monday, the Supreme Court could decide whether to hear appeals in 2 cases dealing with defendants who were sent to jail for illegal online threats. The 2 cases deal with a man making threatening Facebook posts about his wife and a woman emailing a radio station about Second Amendment gun rights, stating she was planning something big. In both cases, the defendants were tried under a federal statute that makes it illegal to communicate a threat to injure the person of another. Secretary of State John Kerry told CNN the 5 Taliban members swapped for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl could be killed, presumably by drone strikes, if they violate the agreement to stay in Qatar for 1 year. Kerry added the men are under U.S. surveillance, and any attempts to return to battle will be reprimanded. Sergeant Bergdahl has begun to tell his story of captivity, claiming incidents of torture, including being locked in a metal cage in complete darkness as punishment for an attempted escape. A study conducted in 2013 by the Gallup Healthways Wellbeing Index found that the longer Americans are unemployed, the more likely they are to distribute signs of poor psychological well-being. Reports confirm about 1 in 5 Americans who have been unemployed for a year or more have been treated for depression. Unemployed Americans are more than twice as likely than those with full-time jobs to suffer from depression, and 18% of those not working for 27 weeks or more suffer from feelings of sadness. Psychologists also connected unemployment to anxiety and low self-esteem. The study found the longer Americans are unemployed, the unhealthier they become, making it more difficult for them to find work. Support for Liberty Beat comes from My Magic Mud, all natural teeth whitener. Go to mymagicmud.com and hear a short interview with Dr. Griffin Cole. That's mymagicmud.com. And support comes from Brave New Books, online at bravenewbookstore.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan, reporting, reminding you, Liberty.
Hey, Nathan, you there?
Saying that he was giving his coworkers at Marley Publishing just a few more days to catch on to him. Local mentally...
Nathan. Hey, Nathan, are you there? Not hearing him. It's so frustrating. I thought I set this up correctly. Did a test call earlier. Nathan is trying to connect with us on Skype, and he's not coming through right now.
Life in general. And I even discussed my fascination with all sorts of violence. But that still didn't throw up any red flags. We'll see if anyone catches on.
Mike? I don't know him super well, but he's nice enough. He's quiet and he keeps to himself mostly, but I'm sure he'll come out of his shell. Just a matter of time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back to Peace News Now. It's the beginning of the second hour here at LRN.FM. You can join in the fun. Call in 443-424-8347. That number spells out hi-fi civ dis, as in civil disobedience. You can also Skype into the program at PeaceNewsNow. That's what Nathan's doing. Nathan? Ooh, sounds like Nathan is not connected with us. That's probably my fault. We'll try and get that worked out for the next segment. But in this segment, I wanted to chat with Davi about an anarchist society. We were talking about Copenhagen and España, Barcelona, Spain, in the first hour. Let's bring it to the Americas, talk about Northern California.
Is Jefferson an anarchist community? I didn't think it was.
No, not an anarchist community. They're trying to form a state. Sorry if I misspoke about that. No, they are not an anarchist community. But it's about the topic of secession. You know, they're bringing it local, and that's a step in the right direction. They could just go local all the way to the individual, and that would be ideal. We also have someone in the chat room who mentioned to me on Skype. He's from Maine, and he said that his state split, quote, a few years ago. I don't know if he's just using that term loosely, but I'm pretty sure Maine has been a state for a pretty long time. Is he sure that they just seceded? Let's see. Oh, and he's trying to call in. Let's see if he can connect with us. Dale from Maine, you are on Peace News Now. Go ahead with your thoughts. No, that silence means that I have done something incorrect. So I won't be taking any more calls in this segment. Unfortunately, I'll just mute the Skype line. So that stinks. But we have a cool video from Reason TV about Northern California. Let's see what they've got to say.
Presentation in northern rural California that's effective in the state. In a sense, the three major urban areas dictate politics for the entire state. Our children are leaving, our economy is crashing, we're taxed, every breath we take is regulated, and we feel that a free state will cure that.
Ooh, I agree. A free state would be awesome. You should check out New Hampshire.
If only there were a project to that effect.
In California, far away from the hustle and bustle of San Francisco, there are a handful of counties that are attempting to accomplish the seemingly impossible: create a new state. The proposed new state is called...
It's not impossible. It's been done a bajillion times before.
This is sort of depressing. There was an actual secessionist movement called Jefferson that was not to create a new 51st state, but to actually be a different country.
All the people of northern rural California, and we will be able to use the 10th Amendment to stop federal intervention in negative ways into our life.
There would be less tax and certainly less regulation and less impact of the agency and having more states' rights.
We can't afford to run a California-style bureaucracy, that's true. But as a small rural state, we don't want to. We want a part-time legislature. We don't need 570-plus state agencies. We don't need to regulate the air people breathe. I mean, look at this place. We don't need a lot of the things that California has.
This is hardly a new idea. The people in this area have been calling for independence for quite some time.
During the 30s, there was a cry for separation.
Cool.
And they began to gather, and of course the 2030 Club from Wairika took it up, and in 1941, in early November, they began to petition for changes. And
what's with the XX? That looks bad. Their symbol is some kind of XX.
Stopping traffic on
moonshine.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
They had their cries.
That would be pretty cool.
The roads aren't passable, not even jackassable, and we have resources nobody wants us to use, and we couldn't even get in and out. They felt that both Salem and Sacramento were ignoring this region. And so they ran a gubernatorial race, and Childs was elected. They stood on the steps of the Wairika courthouse, and the newsreels came, all the news companies came up, and they had a huge parade, but this was on December 4th.
This is great. The Wikipedia article says that the two X's are a symbol known as the double cross, which is a symbol of their abandonment of both Oregon and California.
They were
awesome. Wow, that's awesome.
The road to a proper mind. This is so much
abandonment.
We already have 350,000.
That's a lot better than a flag that's just black. Like black flag is kind of depressing. X's are kind of cool.
We're practicing
We
inclusion.
ought to do flags that are like a black field with like the red no percent, you know?
Of Democrats, Republicans.
The red no percent, a black field.
We have everyone.
Like a no percent is the circle with the line through it, like a no smoking sign.
But what's a black field? Just the black
like a black flag, yeah.
This has been done.
What would that mean? Just no black?
This is my no flag.
They keep it. And a lot of people say that's evidence that it can't be done. I don't think so. I think that's evidence that people are so desperate and so angry that they keep.
I think this is pretty weak. I gotta say, I usually like Reason TV, but I'm not seeing the difference here.
California has become so popular around Wairika that
I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
their own strategy for separation.
California is such an oppressive place to live, and it is totally controlled by San Francisco and Los Angeles and Sacramento. Like, if you look at the sheer size of California and you compare, like, think about all the people that live in that, all the outskirted areas of California, they have absolutely no say in the way the government is run. And
it's not like they would have any say if they changed the government. That's my problem. Is there like?
I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying it makes sense the way they think.
Yeah. They're like, hey, I don't have any control. I should get something that I have more control over. But you had an interesting comment on Facebook about what politics is recently. Do you remember that quote?
Was it all of politics is to project your frustrations onto things that are outside of your control so that you can avoid addressing them?
That's exactly the quote that I was referring to. And isn't that what the people here are doing with their half-assed secession? Because they are just creating a new state that they will have no control over. I mean, for them to think that they'll be represented in this new government is a joke. Like I think what we were talking about before about the community in Barcelona, where all the people participated in community gardens, building projects, and serving one another with their.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about what Jefferson was building.
Yeah,
like it all felt like a paperwork.
Yeah, they're like exactly. They're like, oh, well, we want to have our own city hall with our own politicians, and there'll be different politicians, and it's like, yeah, but that's just the same.
We even have a flag.
Yeah, it's a cool flag. I'll give them that. All right, so I'm just going to cut that off. You know, sometimes Reason TV brings the hotness. Sometimes they bring the weak sauce.
I mean, part of it is, I mean, they're calling the thing Jefferson, and Jefferson was no great saint.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I'm fairly certain that the state of Jefferson has been a full-fledged secession movement. Like, it's part of the what is it called? The Union of Micronations. There's this whole thing about, like, joke secession movements, sort of like in Florida. There's this group called, I'm not going to remember what it is, Seashells or something like that. And I thought that Jefferson was a full-fledged secession movement, that there was like a town in Northern California that was like, yeah, we're our own country, we have our own flag, and it was a statement as opposed to a petition, right?
Yeah, please, government, can we be separate now? Well, I don't need to look to other places, fortunately, to see what an anarchist society can look like. I live in one, and it's the coolest thing ever. I live in Keene, New Hampshire, and I get to see. One of the things my friends did today was organize a trip down to the Keene Spiritual Retreat, a.k.a. the Cheshire County House of Corrections, where we visited a hero, Rich Paul, who's behind bars for a victimless crime of selling pot. And so, yeah, that's one of the aspects of an anarchist society. So we still have to, unfortunately, in 2014, deal with the state. And the state is always caging peaceful people. But we're working on changing that. Peacefully, of course. This is PNN.
Ross Ulbricht was arrested by...
Yeah, man. I didn't get to visit Rich today. I was disappointed. Oh, but in this break, I have to make sure that I figure out what's going on with my Skype calls. So please...
All right.
Please stand by.
That's freeross.org.
A meme is not easy to define.
What is it?
But you know it when you see it.
Amazing.
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com proves that.
I feel so enlightened.
Don't Tread on Memes, M-E-M-E, helping you give the finger to our monetary system of deception by providing you with silver dime trading cards. Unlike today's dollar, they have value, and they look neat too.
Oh, would you look at those? Aren't those just swell?
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com. While you're browsing their numerous silver dime card designs, take time to download the easy-to-use Silver Calculator app. This simple piece of technology.
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me? Anything coming through, Nathan? Check, check. 1, 2. Nathan, can you hear me?
I can.
All right,
There we
excellent.
go.
Yes, I can hear you. All right, very good. Man, I have no idea what was the problem before. I wasn't hearing anything. Were you hearing me?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't even
You said
connect,
you
right?
You could only take IMs.
Yeah. Well, I haven't changed anything. I just tried calling you. That works. So, do you have any thoughts that you want to share in this upcoming segment, or should I take the other call?
No, I had something.
All right. Cool. Do you want to let the YouTube audience know, or do you want to hang tight? Why don't
Oh,
you
I
just
didn't. I forgot about the YouTube audience. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the anarchist place or whatever. In where was that? Sweden.
Yeah, there's one in Denmark that's in Copenhagen, 34 acres in Copenhagen. Pretty impressive. And then there's one that's in Barcelona, Spain.
Oh, okay.
Which one
Hey,
were you
Donnie.
talking about?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Were you the one who was talking about the My Magic Mud, or was that the ad?
That's probably the ad. I think Mark has a library he does of that.
Oh, okay. I thought it
I've
was
seen this
some-
stuff. It seems pretty cool. I would like to try it. I should get some.
It's
My
only
Magic
it's
Mud.
only a whitener though, right? It doesn't actually kill bacteria or anything like that.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
I have no idea. I understand that someone is going to be at PorkFest with samples, so I think I'll try it out.
Woo! I can't wait to take a picture with my muddy mouth.
Yeah.
Like a zombie.
All right, cool. We'll hang. What's the expression? Stand by, Nathan.
From 3 to 5 p.m. as he brings you news, views, and opinions while promoting the ideas of peaceful interaction.
Marriage should be handled either by religious institutions or the couple's friends. If everybody wants to say that two individuals are married and they live as a married
Daryl.
couple, they don't need any piece of paper from anybody. And I'll even go one step further. If 17 people
Preach it.
they want to be in one
Preach,
big
girl.
giant marriage, I don't care. As
You
long
hear
as
that?
it's
Daryl believes in a 17-person cap on marriage.
not be illegal, there shouldn't be laws prohibiting that. So Rand Paul to say that, oh, well, if we allow gay marriage, we have to allow polygamy. What is the effing problem with polygamy? Historically, polygamy has always been accepted.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This Peace News Now, we're talking about anarchist societies. Where do you escape to in the world to find freedom? Barcelona, Spain has something cool and interesting going on. So does Copenhagen, a 34-acre anarchist haven, so-called, in Copenhagen. And joining us on Skype at Peace News Now is Nathan, calling in from Texas. You can also join us by dialing in 443-424-8347. That's Hi-Fi Civ Dis. Nathan, go ahead with your thoughts.
I wanted to ask, did they actually say the place in Copenhagen was communist? I didn't catch that.
No, they did not say that it was communist. They said it was anarchist.
There were some. I felt like it was sort of implied. If you like, or if you're trained to listen for that dog whistle, you could hear it.
Yeah, I mean, they gave the example of a give a thing, take a thing area, which
Yeah,
in my
maybe.
mind, that's just charity. That's not a special philosophy. That's just being generous, right? anyone can do that. It's not about a certain philosophy. I don't. That doesn't
maybe I've been
smack of
trained to hear
communism.
maybe I've been trained to hear the same dog whistle as Tavi, because I kind of picked up on that.
Well, what else? What was the dog whistle for you? Was it just the give a thing, take a thing, or what else?
That, and he said something vague about people can take some clothes or something if they need it. So that one was vague. I could that one sounded like charity to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Banning guns, I mean, even though that's not specifically a plank of the Communist Manifesto, that sort of utopian thinking is common among communists.
Yeah.
And
We don't
did
need
they
weapons.
And sorry to one more thing. Did they mention alcohol, tobacco, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they said that soft drugs were cool, hard drugs were not cool, which I imagine they classify alcohol as a soft drug, even though I would argue it's not. I think alcohol is a pretty hard drug.
Okay, because I've gotten the impression from reading about some of these places that they, like, no drugs are allowed. Is that what you found, Davi?
I feel like it's variable. I mean, it's not like a specifically part of the sort of economic model, and so it just sort of depends on the prejudices of the people involved.
Oh, okay.
It's like if you look at most communist dictators, they're real down on homosexuality, right? And they'll like kill homosexuals in their little regimes. But then if you look at the like communists on the street like waving their signs, they're all right there ready to like make alliances with the LGBT community, right? And so I think it's sort of it's a populist thing. It's like it's not part of their ideology one way or the other. It's just what sort of alliances can they make now.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned alliances. I was reminded of that quote from Maya Angelou from the Molyneux video where she was saying, as a black woman seeing Fidel Castro hug, I don't know, Malcolm X or somebody in Harlem is the best thing that could ever happen.
Well, weird.
Yeah. Anyway, so my topic is kind of related to this. Derek, do you remember when you were on Free Talk Live and you were talking? You remember the caller who called in about condominiums?
No, refresh my memory.
Well, he was calling in something about the state would reestablish itself if we got rid of it.
Yeah.
He agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he was comparing, for the listeners who don't know, he was comparing an anarchist society to a condominium, and he was using that as sort of a microcosm of the idea of society, saying that we all agree to the rent and the use of land. We all opt into this and agree to it, right? I was making the argument that no, there is no such agreement that exists currently, and it would be a radically different society if it were. So go ahead with your comments, Nathan.
Right. So when I heard that, and then you brought up this community in Copenhagen, I thought of a common kind of left-wing anarchist criticism, which frequently comes up, which is that there's not really that much of a distinction between private property and government. And I know that sounds weird, but the thinking there is that, or at least from their perspective, is that in a government, it's kind of like what that caller was saying. In the government, they make rules, and if you don't like them, then you can leave. And in the condominium, they make rules, and if you don't like it, you can leave. And on the state of, I don't know, Nebraska, they make rules, and if you don't like it, you can leave. And
that's
so
a real dramatic oversimplification, because that's not the way government operates. A lot of the times they make rules, and if you don't like it, they'll throw you in a cage. And they can even make rules that say that you can't leave. So, like,
right.
It isn't the same as property rights. Like, you have rights on my property, even if I ask you to leave, you still have your bodily rights on my property, whereas the state can legislate those out of existence, right?
No, what do you mean they can legislate your bodily rights out of existence? Like, for what?
So let's say I own a farm and you're on my farm and I'm throwing a cocktail party and I say, hey, you know what, before I serve drinks, everybody's got to have a vaccine, right? You could say no, and that might escalate to the point of you leaving my party. But the government can legislate, no, you get the vaccine and you don't get to leave. And if you want to leave, it's going to take 6 months to get your passport, so you're going to have to be vaccinated in the meantime. You know what I mean? Like, not to say those rights disappear, but the government legislates the violation of those rights, whereas in a proprietarian control of a piece of land, you still have those rights. You don't get to. I don't get to tell you can't leave.
Well, that's a good point. I think
I
probably
can't imprison you for cracking my coffee table, right? Like,
I think they'd probably say that if all the property is privately owned, then you can't leave and you can't go anywhere. But what I wanted to get at is this idea of kind of the legitimacy of ownership, and it was kind of tangentially mentioned. You mentioned homesteading earlier, Derek J.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of this comes down to, is that for people in a certain leftist bent, homesteading either isn't legitimate, or they put certain limits on it that maybe other people don't see, and so that's kind of the difference that I would say is that.
What do you mean it's illegitimate?
Well, if you have because they would say that a capitalist who owns a factory is illegitimate because it's the means of production. Yada,
yes,
yada.
I see. Right.
So,
they say that the capitalist is illegitimate, but the person squatting there is legit.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
But what I try to bring it back to is this idea of ownership and scarce resources. And how do you determine what is legitimately acquired? And it's not perfect. I mean, I recognize that, but I still think it draws a big distinction between private property and government. And I'll grant the point that a lot of times on private property it can kind of seem like government in some ways, like in the sense that there'll be
you get to be a total authoritarian over your property.
Do what?
You get to be a total authoritarian over your property. I mean, you could make everyone wear a purple shirt who steps on your property, and that would seem like government.
That really becomes an issue when you feel like you can't leave, which I think is the kind of the economic angle they're getting at. That people feel they can't quit their job and get a better one because it's all you got. And but yeah, I thought the homesteading thing was important to emphasize because a lot of libertarians are Lockeans, although that term isn't really used very much.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, Locke was the one who came up with this theory that we call homesteading, and he also talked about monopoly and government and why does government exist, and he had his own social contract theory too.
All right, well, thanks for your call tonight, Nathan. Still time for your calls. 443-424-8347. Up next, we'll be talking with Tatiana Moroz about Tatiana Coin. Get ready. The cryptocurrency revolution's here.
Listen, you've heard the commercials before. Whether you owe $15,000 or $15 million in tax debt to the IRS or state, we can help. On a never-ending payment plan, penalties and interest killing you, missing tax returns, being garnished or levied, not a problem.
Thanks, Nathan.
Oh, thanks, and I wanted to thank Davi too. I actually ran into someone who was arguing about monopoly and the free market, and I brought up your point about how Google is, even though Google has been on top for a while, they could be replaced by a competitor.
Yeah, and they are all the time. I mean, a lot of people won't use Google and they'll use Start Page or something like that. If I decide, or Derek decides he doesn't like the DMV, there is no other DMV out there. There's no Start Drive, right?
Right.
I wish. Man, I would give anyone my business. I'm about ready. I'm so mad at the federal government. I'm about ready to UPS all my thank you cards. Or what's it called? Yeah, anything but the.
Oh man, the post office. I am very nearly willing to make that economic leap to paying 4 times as much for postage by
I'm gonna do it. I'm so mad at them. I can't give them my money. So Nathan, thanks so much for your call. I'm gonna get Tatiana connected with us. Thanks again.
Okay.
Well, this will be fun. I haven't talked to Tatiana since the Austin Bitcoin convention.
Cool.
Or the Coinvention, or whatever. The Coincert.
It's not supposed to ring. I was supposed to turn those sounds off. Maybe it's a good thing that it's ringing, though.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
Oh.
She has a British robot answering her phone.
Wow. Not bad. All right, well, I assume she'll connect with us when she's ready. In the meantime...
And Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly...
Hey, I heard Daryl is coming along nicely with your audio book. Is that the
Yeah,
idea?
he sent me the sort of first recording, and there were a couple little stutters and stammers that I asked him to fix, but I think other than that, it's ready to go.
Man, that's awesome. I'm so inspired by that. When I saw, I've seen him make progress with that. He was telling me about it, and anyway, I'm excited about the whole idea. You think we could talk about that a little bit in the show tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. And unless it's too early, like I don't know if you've got some release for it that you're doing later on, or
No. No, not really. The audiobook is sort of a fluke. I wanted to have the print book ready for PorcFest, and that's going to happen. And so this is sort of extra credit.
Okay, cool.
I don't actually know what the release date will be, though.
For your hard copy book?
The hard copy book is out. You can get it on Amazon.
Right.
I don't know what the release date will be for the ebook.
Okay, rad.
Issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front
Hey,
of people looking
is the
for
amp
talk radio
pin
on.
thing still going on? You made pins for the amplifiers.
Yeah, I'd say probably 25 or 30 of the pins have gone out, and there's at least 75 left.
Radical.
Yeller in Studio Cam and chat with other listeners
I want to get one.
anytime at
I'm gonna become an amp, a
cam.lrn.fm.
platinum
That's
amper.
cam.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News Now. We are live Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. This show is all about peaceful resistance around the globe. People who are living free, sometimes in what they call anarchist communities. Sometimes I disagree with that description. But either way, our goals are the same. They want freedom, they want peace, and there are many different ways to achieve that. And so examining all of them is worth doing, I'd say. So we've talked about Copenhagen and Barcelona, some things that are happening in Maine and California, and New Hampshire as well. Now, last time you were in New Hampshire, Davi, you laid out a pretty exciting project that has snowballed into something even bigger and cooler since. Tell us about your Milgram-esque experiment and why it's important.
Yeah, so this was at PorcFest almost a year ago now. I won the agorist pitch, and I won the pitch with the idea of an agorist psychological experiment on authority. And my argument was that Milgram and the Stanford Prison Experiment changed the culture, and they changed the way that people think about authority. But since then, the ethical guidelines put out by the APA have changed, and they've made research in this topic very difficult, and as a result, not very dramatic and not very impactful on the culture. And so I said, if we can't do meaningful research in this department based on these guidelines, we have to throw off these guidelines and design our own experiments and fund them ourselves, which is, you know, what we should be doing anyway as anarchists. And so I designed an experiment, and I worked with a number of sort of reached out to experts in ethics, in psychology, in science, and whatever, and sort of bounced ideas off of them. And I've crafted, this is the 5th draft of the experiment. And the basic idea is you put the subject in a situation where they believe that the surveillance footage that they're witnessing is an example, is an incident of brutality or assault happening in the room next to them. And half of the subjects will see a police officer attack someone, and half of the subjects will see a civilian attack someone. And the question is, will they open the door? Will they go into that room and intervene on an incident of brutality? And so the book is published now. It's called Authoritarian Sociopathy, and it covers both the Milgram experiment and the Stanford Prison experiment, as well as 4 or 5 other experiments that a lot of people haven't heard of because they're not dramatic, but they still have really interesting results. Things like people in positions of authority experience pleasure while lying. People in positions of authority experience higher rates of hypocrisy and lower rates of compassion. Things like that. And then the book concludes with the design of the experiment, an admission of the sort of weaknesses, and sort of a petition or a request from the reader to make suggestions to help me improve it, and finally a fundraising appeal. And so the idea is that we're going to try to raise the money that we need to run this experiment ourselves.
Wow, it just sounds like such a big task. What a huge undertaking.
It's intimidating. This is not my area of expertise, so I've had to rely on people smarter than me to help me do it. But it's definitely come a long way in a year, and I think it's possible.
That's really cool, man. Like, one of the things about really huge projects like the one you're describing is they give me this feeling in my gut, like, oh, this is heavy. Have you had that feeling?
That happens to be what Chapter 1 of the book is about. I came out of the Agorist pitch last year feeling like I was going to throw up. Like, I think you probably remember this. You were in the audience, and I came to you even before I got up on stage.
We were chilling together watching the other pitches first, so yeah, that was really
and I felt, and I still feel, overwhelmed by it. But I also believe that even if it doesn't happen the way that I envision it, it is something that needs to happen. And so the book is open source. All the material is open source. I invite anybody to take it and do it themselves, or take it and tweak it and design something similar. And it is science should be free. It's not something that you can copyright. So.
Well, where should people go for more information about this project?
Authoritariansociopathy.com has a landing page. You can also find the book on Amazon.com.
Two very difficult words to spell.
Okay, maybe fpp.cc would be better. If you go to the publisher's website, I'm sure you can find the book there.
I always recommend fpp.cc. Now, joining us on our Skype line on Peace News Now is Dale, calling in from Maine. Dale, go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, I was going to talk about state separation, specifically with Maine. We actually had a proposal back in 2010 with separating northern Maine from southern Maine. I'm from northern Maine. I'm actually from Aroostook County, pretty close to right near the Canadian border.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. I live right near it. If I go up on a hill, I can typically see their mountains on their side. But anyway, what we had is we've had a lot of problems with southern Maine. Now, Maine, unlike most other states in the United States, our largest city, Portland, is extremely small, only 65,000 people.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Portland is your largest city and 65,000 people?
Yep, the second largest is only 32. So
it's pretty remarkable.
And I know out of all the states in the United States, I think Maine's largest city is the second smallest out of all the largest cities of each state.
Why do you think that's a good thing?
I think it's good because it distributes our population a lot more. I like that because it gives everybody a bit more of a voice. You don't have a single city that really controls the whole landscape of Maine, and it's really nice. But in recent times, population in southern Maine has started to grow a lot, while northern Maine has completely shrunk. For example, since the 60s, I live in Aroostook County. It's actually the largest county this side of the Mississippi. But anyway. We used to have a population of about 10 or 130,000 people, and now we're down to about 70,000. The economy has just been absolutely drained. We're trying so hard to regain what we've lost, but because of that, we've lost a lot of power in our state, and it's been absolutely devastating.
What do you mean you've lost power? What's an example?
All right. Recently, what happens is they're passing legislation that's benefiting southern Maine. For instance, what we actually managed to fight back. One few things. They're trying to cut off railroads, and now northern Maine sustains itself on growing potatoes, broccoli, and we have a sizable lumber industry. But because of how long it takes, since it's from the biggest city in northern Maine is called Presque Isle, it's got about 10,000 people. To the next biggest city, which is bigger than us, it's a 3-hour drive going out at almost 75 miles per hour because you raise the speed limit on the interstate. 3 hours. So we used to have trains that would lug down all our material, and they wanted to cut off that from us, and that's where all the little bit of income that we have left comes from. And it surprises us that that even came up to be an option. We actually had a fight to keep that. More surprisingly was let's just say abuse us. When Obama came to Portland back during his when he was running for president, the city of Portland gave its poor $100 to go anywhere else. A lot of them came up here, and now we have a place where we can sustain a couple people who have no homes and stuff. But what happens is in about a week, we gained about 30 people in a building that really is only meant for maybe 10 to 5 people. We couldn't do it, and it was an absolute shock to us that they would just send them to us. I did go to a program called Derigo. It's a program where students from around the state, back when I was in high school, they would go and all come together and kind of like pretend to run a government of some sort. Anyway, they break you up into towns, and the towns would kind of work together. Anyway, my town actually seceded from the United States. We became our own country. Funny.
Wow, was that your inspiration?
They never had it happen before, and the state of Maine declared war on us. Funny stuff, but that all aside, talking to other people around the state, they were just pushing us, people from northern Maine, us students around, like saying, you could try to leave, but you need us. You need us.
For what? What were their arguments?
To sustain ourselves, which is surprising because...
Can you be more specific? What did they say you need from Portland?
Well, that's just it. A lot of it is money. They think we're going to go bankrupt.
Well, where did they get their money from?
That's just it, and that's a lot of it, and they try to intimidate us.
You'll go bankrupt if we don't give you your own money back that we stole.
That's just it. A lot of the money that a lot of the problems we have is because they abuse us.
Hey Dale, I appreciate your thoughts tonight. Thanks so much for calling in, especially on the Skype line. You sounded great. You can Skype in and make your thoughts known. PeaceNewsNow is our address. You can also dial in 443-424-8347. Coming up in the next segment, we'll be joined by Tatiana Moroz.
Did you know that free aid is...
Hey Dale, thanks so much for your call.
Oh yeah, anytime. I enjoyed it.
Cool, and do stay connected with us. Love to hear your thoughts on Maine sometime. I definitely need to check out the secession movement there.
Definitely. The man who's doing it, his last name's Joy. I can't remember his first name right now, but he's ahead of it all. So. Yeah,
very cool.
Probably the one closest to you in Hampshire out of all the bigger movements.
Yeah, and I really want to follow what's going on in this area, like this geographic region, that border up there with Canada. Of course, I've got, it's cool to be close to a border of another country, especially one with cool attractions like Montreal.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with this before I go. A lot of the things up here in northern Maine, we're pretty self-sufficient. Actually, we work a lot with wind power. And we have a lot of our resources for electricity and stuff doesn't even come from the southern United States. It comes from, we get it either from Canada by working with them because we're closer, or we make it our own.
Makes a lot of sense. Very cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate your thoughts, man. Peace.
All right, thank you for having me. You guys have a good day.
You too. Peace, Dale.
Second, tickets are available now at a special early bird price of just $40 via credit card or Bitcoin. That $40 price only lasts through PorcFest, so don't delay. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on
hopefully
Facebook.
We're connecting with Tatiana right now.
Hello?
Hey, Tatiana, it's Derek J. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so glad you were able to squeeze some time in to be with us tonight. We only have one segment left on the program. We're currently on a commercial break, and I just wanted to check in with you and test your audio. You sound excellent.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah, no, I mean everything is good.
Cool. How'd it go today?
Great. Yeah, no, we had a good talk. Everything is chilling, and yeah, I don't know. It was great.
Did you do your video? You did a broadcast on the World Crypto Network earlier today, right?
Yeah, we did. We didn't do it like as a formal video. We just kind of like did a walkthrough while we were kind of hanging out on the phone. So that'll function for now. And then one of the guys from from somewhere.
We need to do a real hangout. That's not going to cut it. Well, we have to do a real hangout. You know, I got a show tomorrow called Bitcoin Talk Show, and it airs live. Oh, but tomorrow I'm going to have a conflict because there's a pretty important hearing happening. Anyway, we need to do a real walkthrough of Tatiana Coin. I'm excited about it. We'll make a video. It should be fun.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we could. Why? What happened tomorrow? Are you not even going to be?
Tomorrow, they're going to have a hearing, a very important hearing about the house in which I'm living. It's a parsonage called the Shire Free Church that is owned by the Shire Free Church, and the city is going to determine whether or not they will allow it to be tax exempt. So that's a pretty important hearing. It's a big development in the world of peaceful resistance because the owner of the property gave it over to a church, and now the church is deciding that they're not going to pay the state for education, that instead they're going to send the money that they owe in taxes for the local education to a private education instead of the government-run one. And I think that's a kind of cool idea because they're not like anti-education or anything. They're still spending the money, they just don't want to put it where the government people want them to put it. So it'll be a unique hearing. Anyway, we're coming up in 20 seconds, so collect yourself, and we'll be right back.
Here onto the roof of his 2-story house.
Pound for pound, I honestly don't think there's a stronger boy on earth. Have you felt his muscles? They're like solid rocks.
This is the Onion News Network.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Thanks for joining us in this last segment of Peace News Now. We are live. Still time for your thoughts and calls if you make them quickly. 443-424-8347 is the call-in line. Spells out Hi-Fi Civdis or Skype in Peace News Now, as Tatiana is doing, who sounds lovely, by the way. Tatiana Moroz of TatianaMoroz.com. How are you doing?
I'm really good. How are you tonight?
I'm fantastic. Now, you've had several big announcements in the past few weeks and a very busy day. Tell us what's been going on.
Well, yeah, no, I know. It has been a lot of action. I've just been on tour a lot, so I've been doing a lot of shows. But for the past couple of months, we've been working on the first ever artist cryptocurrency called Tatiana Coin.
The first ever artist cryptocurrency. There's a lot of world's firsts happening right now, so I want to make sure to underline that one. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool title you hold.
Thank you. You know, I was thinking about that. I was like, you know, if I'm old, I could still say that happened.
Yeah, you get that title. Very cool. So what have you done with your new crypto coin? What have you done with it?
Okay, well, what we're doing is it just went on sale exactly a week ago today. So today's day 8. It's a 30-day campaign. It's very much like an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter.
Okay.
But instead of issuing kind of, you know, prizes that you can never trade over to anybody else and you're kind of locked into a certain thing, you basically get Tatiana Coin and you can use it in my Tatiana store to get stuff like exclusive stuff, access backstage to different parties, hanging out with me at the studio. So it's almost like an exclusive fan club.
Wow, that is pretty cool. So you're building like a Tatiana elite. There's a certain group of elite followers. If you have Tatiana Coin, you've got the secret pass.
Well, you know, I mean, they're supporting me, and you know, and that's what happens when you get an Indiegogo campaign. You have people who believe in you. But I think that this is this builds a longer-term relationship, and I think that it builds value for everybody involved. They get to participate in your success to a certain extent.
What do you mean by they get to participate in your success? Like if the value of the coin grows, then, well, exactly. I guess their value grows, right?
Yeah, exactly, that type of thing. Like, look at it like if you buy backstage passes from Ticketmaster after your $7 million in fees, you're going to let's say pay $100. But like if that artist gets really popular and everybody needs those tickets, then you could maybe scalp them for a little bit more.
This is such a cool idea. I can't wait to see how this will play out. So I assume, is there some sort of client that I can download on my computer that I would store the Tatiana coin in, or how do I store it?
Yeah, basically what you do is you send your Bitcoin to the Coin Powers website, which is where you'll find my campaign. But what you want to do is most likely send it through through the Counter Wallet. So you go to counterwallet.co, and then you can sign up for the Counterparty wallet. If I can sign up for it, I feel like anybody can do it. It's super simple. And then that's where when the campaign is over, the Tatiana coins will be issued, and that's where they'll be held, in the Counter Wallet.
Can I have Tatiana coin on my phone, or is it not the kind of thing I would want to carry around?
You know what? I think if Counter Wallet has an app on your phone, then yes. Once it's issued, it will live there too, because it's going to be in a wallet.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to be able to show it off and make it portable. Like, I don't want to just brag that I have, like, Tatiana coin at home. I want to be, well, I guess it would have to be on your phone, because how else am I going to spend it when I'm at the, like, Tatiana store, trying to get Tatiana CDs and stuff. So, okay, it's day, 10 of the release, and how's it been going so far?
No, it's day 8. It's been going really well. I would say the only thing that has been a challenge is because it's such a new technology, I think it's a little bit tricky for people to understand we try to model that has like a varying price kind of thing. The more people donate a day, proportionately they get less coins. So, on a slow day, you get a lot more coins. So that's a little bit hard to understand, I think, for people.
That's kind of cool. What a weird backwards incentive. Like, so if you want to scoop some Tatiana coin on the cheap, you want Tatiana to have sort of a bad day of donations. Like, you would be the only person who donated. But
well,
that's...
no, I mean, but...
And if you want to get them, if you want to really donate to Tatiana, like if there are a lot of people doing it, then you don't get as many Tatiana coins, but Tatiana gets more value.
Well, yeah, and also the thing is that, yeah, I mean, in the beginning you want to be donating the most because this is when you can kind of get the most access. The thought is that toward the end of the campaign, the competition will be more stiff. But, I mean, we're hoping that it would really build a longer-term relationship with the people coming back to the page. So the ticket is you're supposed to donate a little bit every day to increase your chances of getting the most coins. But this way we think, like, okay, well, people will check back, and I'm posting updates every single day. So each time they check back, they get to get a little different experience with me, and they get to know me a little bit better and know the kinds of things that I would be doing if I get the funding.
So what kind of perks are included? Normally Kickstarter has like perks. If you donate a certain amount, then you get something. Are the perks just that this coin may increase in value, or that you get these backstage passes and certain things like that?
Okay, so like we'll have, like posters and autograph things and stuff like that, the usual. But we also have like a Skype interview. We have a personalized YouTube music video cover. Sit in on a recording session with me in the studio in New York.
Cool.
House concerts. I can even write a jingle for a company or write like a love song so people are getting married.
Oh, have you done that stuff? You do all that stuff?
Well, not for that type of a thing. I mean, I've written things on command, but I like to take my stories from other people. So I think that would be, aside from obviously something that would really connect me with people, but I mean, that would be a fun challenge too, So I think that would be really cool.
I know you're here to talk about Tatiana Coin, but I've been listening to your CD a lot. And
well, that's what Tatiana Coin's for. It's so we could do the third album. I mean, that's the first tier. That's why we need 25 grand, so we can get at least that first tier going, and then there's other things.
And it's you said that you like to draw your songs from and inspiration from other people. And I'm curious, one of the songs I've been playing a lot on repeat is Rita. And I know that's like always a crowd favorite, but I want to know about your inspiration for that song, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, no, I don't care. My friend, she was a good friend of mine in high school, and we were just wild and whatever. We were just funny girls, but she hooked up with my boyfriend or my ex-boyfriend.
Oh!
I was like, you're dead. So, yeah, never mess with me. I'll write a song about you, and it won't be nice.
Whoa, but it is nice. It's my favorite song. Well, I guess the lyrics aren't so nice to Rita.
Well,
but
she's cool, though. I mean,
yeah.
she's turned out not like the Rita in this song, and she's really a wonderful girl, and, she grew up a lot, and I think, not for nothing, but I think that song gave her a little,
whoa, yeah, it gave her a little kick in the butt and set her straight, maybe. That's pretty cool.
Girls are weird, but now we're friends, and I love to see her whenever I can, which is not very often, but still, nonetheless. She likes that song. She's flattered that I wrote it about her.
I'll bet. Now, where are you touring?
Well, I'll be at PorkFest, so I will see you up there. I'll also be at Bitcoin in the Beltway, which is June 20th to the 22nd.
Cool, you and Davi both. And Davi is with us, by the way. I don't know if, Davi, you want to chime in here, but
oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah, he's
no, I was just sort of letting you run the interview. I have a prediction about what's going to happen with this Tatiana Coin thing. I'm sure you've seen this. People like to be like OG fans of artists, right? And they like to say, oh, yeah, I was into them during their first album, and I saw them here, and I played then, they played here. And so, now that's all verifiable. If Tatiana Coin has a blockchain, you could say, I'm an old-school Tatiana Moroz fan. You could check the blockchain.
Whoa, I never considered that. That is pretty rad, man. Like, if the Grateful Dead had a coin of their own, could you imagine how crazy valuable that thing would be, and the concerts and stuff? So yeah, like, this could really go somewhere. I hadn't even considered.
Thanks, guys. I like your creative thinking about the coin. I look at it as a collaborative effort because I don't know. I mean, we don't really know exactly what we're doing. We think we know, but
Yeah, that's what
It's an experiment.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is this coin? What's a Tatiana coin? What do I do with it? But I'm starting to figure it out. And like, the more you use your imagination, really, almost anything is possible. Especially, are you excited about Ethereum? I'm still kind of a noob at this, but will Tatiana coin, is that sort of one of those the crypto 2.0 coins, or is that still old school?
no, it is. It is a 2.0 thing. So we use Counterparty, and we sold it through Coin Powers, and it's done by Counterparty. And you know, we have some consulting with Distributed Buzz and Atom, and that's kind of how it's done. But yeah, it's definitely a meta coin. So
A meta coin. Meta coin is the same as saying like Bitcoin 2.0, right?
yeah, that's what they're calling them. I mean, look, I'm no professional at this either. I'm learning myself.
Hey, I'm trying to figure out all the lingo here. Oh, and that sound means we're out of time. Well, Tatiana, you can be found at TatianaMorose.com. Where can people pick up your coin?
They can go to coinpowers.com or TatianaCoin.com.
All right, that's the one. Well, our guest has been Davi Barker of ShinyBadges.com. Thanks so much for co-hosting this episode. We will see you Sunday. Thanks so much for listening to Peace News Now. Catch us at PeaceNewsNow.com. All right. Well, Tatiana, I want to thank you again for being on. That was a real joy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was really good. Let me know if we can do something a little bit more, I don't know, just extensions.
I want to do exactly what we talked about today, but with the time scheduling it in to do it. Because I think that was a really good idea. It would be setting up a Bitcoin wallet while doing an interview with you, talking about Tatiana coin, and then maybe downloading or sending some Tatiana coin back and forth or something. That could be
I think that'll be really fun. I think that'll be good, and I think that you know, the explanation will be good.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't realize you did jingles. What do I got to do to get a Tatiana Morose jingle?
What do you want it to be a jingle for?
ShinyBadges.com. ShinyBadges.com's been running the Hannah Hoffman jingle for a long time, and I think it's sort of time to launch a new commercial. So I've been sort of scoping it out. So if you do that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I do that, but I usually charge. I mean, the price point is kind of high. We don't want to charge you that much.
Hit me.
Maybe we can work something out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know, because you do like.
You're
graphic
both being
design,
recorded, just so you know.
Hit me. What is the high price point? What's the?
Well, we're doing it through Tatiana Coin. So like, what I was trying to do is get like companies to kind of sponsor me on my tour and stuff. So the price point I think was $5,000.
Wow.
Okay. That I have to like hire other people to do it, but I could definitely get it done for cheaper, obviously. But that was the price that we did for that, and like I don't know.
Do you have any idea how much Tatiana coin that is?
No, we don't. We're not gonna know until the end.
Oh, okay. I see.
So you're saying it's sort of like a raffle ticket. I could go buy a whole bunch of Tatiana coin and potentially win myself a jingle.
Yes, something like that.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. I dig that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, what we're putting, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how the proportion of the coin's going to work at the end of it, to be honest. It's, like, still a little bit fuzzy for me.
So many
but
possibilities.
I think I'm getting a little bit better at it.
So many possibilities. Well, we'll figure it out. By the end of this month, at least by the end of PorkFest, we'll have it all figured out. I'm excited about it. Thanks so much for joining us, Tatiana, and I look forward to chatting with you some more again.
Thanks so much, guys. Davi, be in touch. We'll think of something.
Yeah, we'll talk more.
All right, night.
Cool. Hey, PorkFest 2014, bitches.
Woo! Oh, it's so fun to talk to Tatiana. I'm glad she was able to join us. Busy gal, and sounds awesome that you're going to get a new jingle. I hope you win one in that Raffle O Tatiana coin. I know I'm going to get myself some. I got to prove that I'm old school Tatiana fan.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is really the thing, right? Like you could show, like it used to be T-shirts, right? Like if I wore a T-shirt and it was like, this is from Aussie tour whatever year, and you know because the year's on the back, you'd have no way of verifying that I didn't buy that out of a thrift store.
Right.
But if I'm showing you a Tatiana coin, you could look at the blockchain and be like, no, this transferred hands just 1 year ago. Right?
Like, oh, you bought this. from sleazy Silk Road. He's trying to fake his love of Tatiana when I got the real thing.
Yeah.
Well, Davi, this has been real, and I can't wait to chat with you again. Hey, you want to do Bitcoin Talk Show tomorrow? You gonna be on? You can join.
It'll depend how I'm feeling, I think.
Right. You're not feeling well, but I can't even do Bitcoin Talk Show tomorrow because we've got this big act of civil disobedience thing happening. Not that there's going to be civil disobedience tomorrow, but the idea of becoming tax exempt, it'll be really amazing to see what the city of Keene says. Do they want to say, okay, we're going to just let this
I want to hear the statements out of the mouths of the anti-free Keene people, and whether or not they're willing to throw the First Amendment under the bus because they don't like chalk. Well,
the chalking thing is happening in the evening.
What I mean is, I'm wondering if they're willing to say it's not a religion, it's not a church. Like, I'm wondering if they're willing to sacrifice what is their sort of constitutional whatever on account of just not liking the people, right?
Right. They are willing to go all the way. They are totally heartless with no conscience.
Yeah.
So I hope that they just decide to say, this is not a fight worth having. Just leave these people alone because they're not hurting anybody, and they do make the community a little better. So that's what I hope happens tomorrow. I want to be there to film, so I just won't be able to do Bitcoin Talk Show tomorrow. I hope that it goes on well.
There was talk of the Shire Church actually buying another property that was an actual church. Do you know if there's any progress on that?
Yeah, I believe there's still a bid in for a church in town, which is right next to. Well, it's very close downtown. So I think that would be the right kind of venue, I would think, for a church. It's an actual church to inhabit. It would be for a community gathering. It wouldn't be in a residential area, so it could fit more people and not draw negative attention from neighbors or anything. I think it's the ideal situation, really. So I hope that the church accepts their offer and that me and others start to not inhabit, but use the space of a church for community gatherings and such.
Yeah.
That's the idea. I really love what's happening in Keene, man. It is so exciting. If there is any, I'm always on the search, right, for the Freedom Project around the world, and I truly believe that what's happening in New Hampshire is it. That's the best Freedom Project that is going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Aside from like the digital one online of cryptocurrency and everything, but like day to day, I mean, there are people using two-ways, walking around, always carrying a camera, an extra hidden camera, recording devices.
You don't think the state of Jefferson is going to win their freedom?
No, I think Keene is going to be first. The
Jefferson thing, I got the impression it was almost like a little bit of like East Coast style government on the West Coast, because the governments are so different. Because states over there are so small and states over here are so large that I feel like there's a sort of like East meets West thing happening with the way that they want their state to run.
That could be. Yeah,
but that doesn't make it right.
It just seems like there are a bunch of like good people who feel like, oh, if we just get good people into politics, then everything will be better. But if they just are.
Hey, I understand it. I mean, I would love to see California break down into multiple parts or no parts at all, but.
What's going to happen? That was really the question of this episode that I wanted to get at, was who's going to be first? Because it's going to happen. We've seen I guess it's called the balkanization of states, where things start to separate and become more independent. Like, it happened in Europe. It happens all over the world. There are like 100 more countries than there were 50 years ago. And that trend is going to continue, and it's going to affect the United States at some point. So which state is first to break down? I think it's going to be New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, somewhere in this area, because there's a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, California is just it's too large and disorganized of a population. I mean, there's no way to get everybody on board with anything. So.
Yeah, well, rock on. We'll have to leave it there because I got to get going. But this was a really fun episode, and I appreciate you doing a little bonus show wrap with me. So we'll leave it there. I hope to catch you soon. I hope that you feel better. And your website is shinybadges.com. Listeners can check out this program at PeaceNewsNow.com. I just updated it with all kinds of new archives and fun stuff, so check out all the videos and links that I've got there for you. And don't forget that this show runs on Bitcoin. It has since day one, and it's you, the listeners, who power it, so thank you for your donations at donate.peacenewsnow.com. I'll see you Wednesday. Peace.
Bye, Derek.